Right, I have restarted my computer now. I'm deliberately recording this stuff because you may have similar problems to me, and by me going through them, you will be able to solve those problems. So I'm going to try now and start up my WAMP server 32. So in here again, I just go to my WAMP, and there it is here, and I'm going to run it, and I need to type in my password. You probably won't need to do this. This time I'm not getting the DLL errors, so that should be good. And this has started. Local server. Okay, can you see at the bottom of the screen I get this green W? If it's orange or red, it means certain things aren't running, but after a few seconds it should go green. And if I click that, I then get this menu, and I will in this menu I click on various things. I get something called MySQL in here, etc. Now you notice that under MySQL it's got this port 3308. Okay, now if you remember in the previous video we talked about the port briefly, so I'm going to start up PyCharm here. And in our database connection we had this port, and it seems to be running on 3308, so I'm going to change that to 3308. So just to remind you what I did there, go down to here, go to MySQL, and it says use port other than 3308. So it's using 3308. So that's an important configuration change that we need. Now, this user guest root should be there by default, I think. So we should be okay with that. Now the host is going to be your local, what's called your local host, which is basically the web server that's running on your computer. So I'm going to change that to local host, and this is where we're going to have a look at my test database. That's the database on here. That's what we've got to get sorted now. So we're going to go into this menu again under our W, and I'm going to click PHP My Admin. And I'll get, under this local host, a web page that comes up, and I should be able to log in into this. Make sure I click MySQL as my server choice rather than MariaDB, so MySQL, and underneath here my username is, I think it's root. Yes, just type root and no password. Okay. Right, okay, we're getting somewhere now. Now, don't get scared by all this stuff. This server, MySQL, is running on 127.0.0.1. Now, that means localhost. So that where I put localhost in my configuration inside here, that's the same as saying 127.0.0.1. So try it first of all, localhost. If that doesn't work, we'll change it back to 127.0.0.1. But localhost should always mean 127.0.0.1. That's the IP address. You'll be learning about IP addresses next year, actually. So server type is MySQL. SSL, we don't really need to use SSL. It's only a local machine that's running. I'm not going out to the internet to pull off any information, so we don't need a secure server, so this is fine. And the user is root at localhost, so that's what we just typed in there. Now what we need to do now is set up the database for our program. Now I'm going to show you how we need to do that. I'm going to start up OneNote. Now this makes assumptions that you may have read the database information. And under here, there should be a sample application stuff that you probably should have read, okay, that talks about these different layers. Don't worry if you haven't read that at the moment. It's not vital at the moment. But under databases, you will see where it's got SQL. So we've got databases in Python and a subfolder called SQL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of that text and copy it to the clipboard. So I've copied that to the clipboard there. And then I'm going to go over back to my localhost PHP admin, and I'm going to create a new database by clicking on this button here, new. And then the database name, I'm going to call it, well, I'm going to go back into here, and the database name, I'm going to call it, rather than my test database, I'm going to call it, what should we call it? Let's call it something like takeaway business. Takeaway business. TAKEAWAYBUSINESS. Takeaway business. I'm just going to copy that. Save me. Type it again. I'm going to type that into here, into the database name. And when we create this thing here, I think we should just select the default there. Yes, yeah, that's fine. Just the default there is fine. So, and we're going to click create here. Now that creates the database so that we can see it here. Now there's nothing in the database at the moment, but we're going to populate it now, and we're going to populate it with some pre-created SQL. Now you're going to have to learn how to create databases using SQL yourself, which is fine, and we can use this SQL to help us learn to do that. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click there and paste that in there. So Control V. Oh no, I copied takeaway business. So go back to OneNote, select all this, copy that back over here, and paste that in there. Okay, and when we do that, we're going to click go. Hopefully this will work. Doing, we got lots of ticks going on. Okay, all sorts of different ticks. Excellent. Right, so, and if we look at the structure now, we've now got some tables in here, and these tables are basically the data that we're going to have. We're going to have customers, items, order and items and orders, and hopefully that will give us now an ability to run our program back in PyCharm. Remember, you can always go back on this if this doesn't work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my folder down here where I've got my project skeleton, and I'm going to run my main menu, and hopefully this will run this time. And it does. We have success. Okay, so you can see here that let's just ignore this event log. We don't need this event log over here. And we've got a menu. So this is the main menu where all we've got is customers and orders and quit program. Okay, and I should be able to type in some nonsense. H. It says input an integer between 0 and 2. So that was obviously incorrect. Can't do that. So my program takes care of that. You're going to have to write all that code in if you do a database application yourself. And you don't have to do a console application. You might decide to do a web application, or you might decide to do some other application. But if you're using Python, there's nothing wrong with you using a console application for a database. Okay, nothing wrong at all. You know, the nice thing about that is it's something that you're used to. But if you feel like you want to learn how to write a web application, it's not necessarily trivial to do that, but it could get you marks in terms of showing an investigation